Some of you may be wondering how it is that we came to acquire 4 children. We knew we needed to adopt, or we wanted to adopt. And one Christmas, Michael says, well, it wouldn't hurt if we started calling the adoption people and see what we need to do. So we had to go through, a lot of screening, a lot of classes in order to adopt anybody. And we were cleared and accepted by the state. And we started getting invited to adoption parties. Stay away from them. And when we got there, somebody said, somebody that had classes with us and knew we wanted a boy, said, did you see that cute little family of 4 boys over there? No, and we don't want to see that. But we we circled the room. We still ended up back in their sphere. They had these social workers that were saying how wonderful they were. And Edward, the child that some of y'all heard at the funeral, was very protective of his brothers. He was what they then called a parentified child. And he was cleaning up around them and making sure they behaved and all that. So we left. At any rate, Michael was pulling me out of the room. And later on, we're driving around like to the diner or whatever. And you know how back in the old days, they used to have little pictures of adoptable children in the newspaper? We opened up the newspaper, and all 4 of those children are in an ad. So we could read their background a little bit. And as Michael used to put it, Jesus, you're just messing with me now. I've seen the children. I know what to do. So we went through the weekend talking about them, and I rarely went to church in those days. And there was a church right across the street, and I went. And I came back in the house, and Michael said, what did God say? And I said, he said, do the right thing. So by Sunday night or whatever, he said, well, I guess it wouldn't hurt if we called the social workers, blah, 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 blah. So we started calling social workers, and nobody knew who these children were or who had brought them to the adoption party. It's because they were from another county, and it took us, being the reporters that we are, that was just a challenge. So we tracked them down, got the social workers to come see us, and they actually tried to talk us out of it. You look like nice upper class people. You really don't want to be bought. You know the kind of problems these children have, blah, blah, blah. So that was another challenge. And we finally got through it. They said, okay, if you're serious, we'll allow another meeting. This was like the middle of October, because it was one of the children's birthdays is October 13th, and he had turned 5 that day. We didn't get to see them again until mid-January. Then they started allowing them to visit us. And then finally, by the end of the spring, they said, well, if you're really serious, you can have them the day after school is out in June. So that's how we got the children. But sometimes people ask me if Michael is as calm at home as he is at work. And I said, yeah, what you see is what you get. He could sleep or work with all 4 children leaping over his head, and it would not faze him in the least. As the other side of Michael was, he loved to host things, parties, picnics, barbecues, and decorate things. Our good friend Joe Blake, I don't know where he is, just found out today that I'm not the Christmas decorator, because Michael would decorate every surface in the house, and this process took weeks. I'd come downstairs in the morning, and he had done the mantle. I'd come downstairs like the next morning, and he had put 2 huge Santas on either side of the mantle. He had put up the lights on the, what do you call it, the step reel. That's who he would go, after a long day at work, he would go to his mother's and decorate her house for Christmas. So, when my son was asked to speak at the funeral, he said up until the day of, he didn't know what he was going to say. It was probably going to be something like, thank you very much for coming. And that's kind of how I felt tonight. But I do want to thank everybody who helped plan this executed Melanie, Sarah, who am I leaving out? The whole chapter, everybody who was Shaheed, people who did the programs, this is a very professional production. And you all have helped me greatly in your comments. I mean, I thought I knew what a great man he is, but a lot of things I heard tonight, I didn't even know he does. And the other thing I want to say about Michael, though, is my description of him is everybody thinks that he has solved their problems or that he, really gives them good advice. But as his wife, who sat on the other side of the room through many of these conversations, with men and with women, people would call him up and just talk for hours. And I'm listening on my side, and he's saying, yeah, man, And he hasn't done anything. He hasn't said anything to guide them, force them, order them, whatever. But what we all need is a good listener. He listened to me. He listened to his friends. I know his good friend Yvette Owsley, sometimes called and they talk forever. Joe Blake talks forever. Anybody on his staff could call up. People in the neighborhood, like Shaheed, and he would listen. And we all need that in our lives, and he mastered that art a long time ago. Thank you.